The motivation for Cruising the Wire was basically I wanted to tell a story which I felt hadn't been told. The date in question in which the play is set is the 3rd of November 2001. That's 12 years ago now. The story is yet to be told to kind of the rank and file officers and how they felt.
I remember when I joined the RUC in 1976, there was no doubt at all that it was an organisation not only involved with policing but also with protecting the state.
I believe that I was fighting for my community, the right of that community to raise its head above the parapet and be treated as first-class citizens.
I remember being on escort patrol once with some explosives officers heading out to the scene of a quarry, and on the way out there the road in front of us was blown up by an explosion at the side of the road by a bomb that had been placed there presumably the night before. Now luckily enough nobody was injured on that particular occasion, but it just brought home to me, particularly whenever the gravel and the stones and all are showering down around you, the dangers that there are in being a police officer in Northern Ireland at that particular time.
Well, I ended up going to prison when I was just almost 20. I was charged with causing explosions in around the Rollins-town under Murray and with an attack on an RUC patrol in July 1976. As I say, one of the RUC officers in it was injured, the driver I think he was, and I was sentenced to life imprisonment about 9 months later.
And it was difficult sometimes for police officers to live within the communities. You had to take certain precautions. For example, you could not hang your washing out on the line for fear it might draw attention to the fact that a police officer lived in that particular location. You would have to check underneath your car every day if it was parked outside your house in case somebody had placed an undercar booby trap there during the night. And it's just a random fact that I'm able to, I suppose, sit here and talk to you today as opposed to maybe being somebody that's memorialised in the Garden of Remembrance.
I think I was prepared to die for IRA as well as take life for it. And I think that was, I suppose, proven whenever I ended up in prison. I ended up in the protest and then on the hunger strike in 1981. I was on the hunger strike for 70 days and in that coma, so in some sense for me, died, but I'm still here to tell the tale. Looking back on my life and actions that I took, there's very little that I would regret, certainly not in terms of the politics and being involved in IRA. I think if I had the same to do over again, would basically do it. I think we're in a different situation today. Part I think today is about dealing with now the legacy of the conflict. I think you can only deal with that in a credible way if you actually stand over the politics that you had.
And I guess you have to be in the context of where that person's grown up or what that person has experienced before you can really say that was a good decision or that was a bad decision. Ultimately, you have to live with the consequences of your decision. As Darwin says, it's not the most intelligent nor the strongest of the species that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. Certainly, change was something which stuck in a lot of our throats at that time. We felt that we were being, if you like, hung out to dry by the politicians to try and move things forward in this country. I am a great believer in moving things forward, and I think that change does have to happen. But that does not diminish the fact that a lot of us felt betrayed by the government in those days.
And I would have great sympathy for the RUC and great sympathy for what happened over the period of the Troubles, and really I wanted to tell that story and facilitate people in telling their story. I know there were a lot of people who felt very bad and very raw about it. I still know that there are people who feel that way about it and feel a sense of betrayal by the political process. It's important to tell this story purely through a sense of inclusivity. There's no point excluding the story. I think that because it's a difficult story, because it's a hard story for people to tell and a hard story for people to hear, doesn't make it any less valid.
Well, the reason I get involved in Cruising the Wire is quite simple. I think it's a story that has never been told because of the people being afraid to tell it. There are two stories to be told in any conflict. There's both sides of the story to be told, and the RUC was one part of that story. It's quite clear there's no point in listening to one side of a story. What is the point? Should there be no benefit in it for anybody? So both sides of the story need to be told, and they need to be told in a safe, creative environment for people where they can feel that they are protected, feel that there is an honesty on each side, there's an openness to hear the other story and maybe learn from each other. Part of the conflict is dealing with the past, and we have really avoided how we should do this, and this is one way it's important that we should do it.